I think everybody in the world who suffered a trauma is deeply impacted. Is deeply impacted, and I was impacted from my birth because I was the second one, and nobody expected. In those days, there were no echoscopia devices, measurement things. It was all on a horn, a wooden horn. I felt this attraction to go into cold water. And then I knew it. When I went in for the first time, freezing water, I knew this is it. Not
This is the
thinking,
thing you've been looking for?
yes, connection with the deep imprint of my own personal trauma. And now it shows that people go into this cold practice and into these breathing practices, which comes from the cold. Because when you go into the cold, you do, you come alive. You come alive in connection with your biochemistry, and you begin to feel and understand, sense that you are able to change the biochemistry by deep breathing. And what we do in our society is shallow breathing. We don't know the power of our own breath, and therefore we don't know how to connect with our biochemistry. When it goes wrong because of stress, could be virus, bacteria, biological poison, it could be a mental stress, emotional, whatever the stress is, it has an impact on our biochemistry. And through the deep breathing and manipulating the breath, you are able to alter the biochemistry again. How simple it all is! And because nobody wanted to understand that this is happening, and they're always just philosophizing, he's crazy, what he is doing, he is crazy. Then I went to the university and they injected me with a bacteria, and then I showed after 16,000 people who became sick with the same model of experimenting, which is an E. coli bacteria injection. It's a controlled endotoxemia model to experiment to find out about the immune system. Are we able to tap into the immune system? 16,134 people all became sick. And then I came in and I showed I did not become sick with the same injection of the E. coli. It was my mother, a very pious, naive mother. In those days, you could not work anymore when you married. You had to stop working. So you could not go
by law?
Yes, by law. By law, everybody, the man has to provide. That was in those days. So she was at home. She was intelligent, but she had no career, only having children. But she was also pious, a God-fearing person. She said that at that moment, that invocation.
That she was going to make you a missionary?
Yes, yes, and I was not aware of that. Only I was different. And I came to know by talking to my mother later, very much later, that she sat there and she told me the whole book, and she knew it like it was yesterday. So she told me that 48 years later, I am in New York. I am doing an experiment in the Feinstein Biochemical Institute, and I am connected to take blood out of me while I'm doing what I'm doing. A heart meter, lung meter, it's all connected in a warm, nice room. And they asked me, do what the Iceman is doing. I just did breathing techniques, and I gave it all. It gave it so much that they had to take away the lung meter because I stayed more than 2 minutes without breathing. And then you get a flat line. They thought it's defect. And then they took it out. They came in, another one. Defect again. And at the third machine, I was on, and I didn't care anymore. I stayed there for 1 hour and a quarter in that room, and they took all the blood. And a week later, they called me. That was Dr. Ken Kamler, and he said, "We have the blood results." And it shows that if you are able to reproduce this in a group of people, then that means huge consequences for human mankind. And then he named all these diseases related to the results I had let out there in the Feinstein Institute a week ago in the blood, showing that I was controlling the vagus nerve. And the vagus nerve is considered to be in science, in medical science, not to be controlled by humans. It cannot. But I showed big control in the vagus nerve. And if you are able to control, influence into the vagus nerve, you are able to bring down inflammation. And inflammation is the cause and effect of any disease.
Now, when you say that you could control the vagus nerve, are you talking about they could measure an electrical stimulus that you were sending to it?
No, they took my blood, and within the blood, related to the vagus nerve, there are 307 blood values. And those blood values showed a complete difference than of a normal test person. When Dr. Ken Kamler had called me with the results saying, if you are able to reproduce this, that means huge consequences for human mankind. And then he named all these diseases, half an hour, and then, at that moment, in the telephone, of course I can do that, the missionary was born. Consciously, to my brain, to my consciousness, my awareness, it was there, boom, without saying. Half hour later, I got a telephone that my mother had died. You see how it all connects? And this is just a personal story. Everybody has beautiful personal stories. And magic happens only if you look for it. And it makes all sense if you look deeply within yourself and find out why you are here. What for, and that you have a great impact possible by standing up and do things out of the box and do it. Be audacious, have no fear.
How much, though, do you think that is, they just don't know how to access that part of their brain? You said in the book something that I think addresses the opioid crisis more profoundly, which is, you said, everybody who looks towards the light is looking for purpose. And when I think about the opioid crisis, I think about that, like people not knowing what they want in life, people feeling completely disconnected from the world around them, from their body. What do you think?
You are. Yes, into the darkness, into the no knowledge, into being desperately out there, into letting it go. They are completely lost in their lives. The purpose of life itself is inside the brainstem. The brainstem is about life, about survival, life and death. So life is like light, death is like shut down, darkness, over, done. The light. And how? By neurology. What is neurology? It's electricity. It's potentials, neurotransmitters. And you are the alchemist. You are able, this is what we have shown as well, how to produce 100% neural activity in the brain. And with that, you make the right biochemistry inside the brain for the will, which is a neurotransmitters, to connect with any part of the brain. That's the way we are naturally built to do. But because of our behavior, we disconnected from the right biochemistry, and we are limited. We are narrow-minded.